All right, everyone. Welcome to Go Mode podcast sponsored, another Go Mode sponsored tournament race. We have the Overworld Glitches Mentor Tournament, and we have a race between mm2nescartridge and Cinaeth. And this is a mentor tournament, so we have mentors behind the scenes, one mentor paired with each runner. My name is Chexhuman, and I'll be on commentary today. So if anyone has questions about Overworld Glitches or Racing Randomizer, feel free to ask, and I'll answer. We have, again, this is an Overworld Glitches race, so the item fill of this randomizer will put items in places where Link could not normally obtain them. So we will see racers going out of bounds and using clips to navigate the overworld. So we are just waiting for this race to begin. So this is open mode, so we'll see where they start. We have both racers starting in Sanctuary, and there's just a key. And we know that. All right, let's look at that map really quickly. We have 3 crystals in the light world. One of them is a red crystal. Cinaeth is starting the first overworld check at Bonk Rocks. It's just a piece of heart. MM2 is dashing straight to the Lost Woods. And we'll see how their routing differs slightly at the beginning. So in this mode, we always start with the boots because boots make clipping easier. And we can think of Overworld Glitches as primarily focused on clipping out of bounds and making it easy for Link to perform glitches. That's what the boots allow us to do very easily. We also start with a sword. So both runners in this stage of the tourney, the Swiss stage, start with a sword. The sword, in addition to being progression, it's also an easy to use glitch item. It allows Link to get to achieve a super speed state, which also allows Link to clip out of bounds easily. All right, so interesting to see both runners start on the northwest side of Hyrule and approach it a little bit differently. Did we see... Okay. And the red crystal is Eastern Palace. So the other red crystal is in the Dark World. We're seeing Cinaeth start with a Death Mountain Ascent here, and he's getting linked to... Okay, so Cinaeth entered the Death Mountain escape cave instead of the Lost Old Man cave. So Cinaeth is correcting that by doing one more super speed. And MM2 also did a Death Mountain Ascent, or DMA, so it was able to get to the Old Man faster. And from this, I always enjoy seeing Death Mountain at the very beginning. There's a lot of ways to approach the beginning of OWG. And starting... Okay, so MM2 took a death here. Of course, it's Death Mountain, so no surprise. And that's fine, because one great thing about getting the old man early is the save point is available. Cinaeth gets a clip from the bottom of the overworld map to the top, and that allows him to enter Tower of Hera, and he finds a bottle there. MM2 did a super speed clip to transition downwards, and from there, he's right in front of Graveyard Ledge. There's nothing in Graveyard Cave, but it is not a difficult check in this mode. It's still Sphere 1, just like all the other Light World caves. So Cinaeth is leaving Tower of Hera. Another thing that MM2 can do is go to Houlihan room and gather rupees. When you do a Death Mountain Descent, or DMD, the camera is offset, so holes nearby will send Link to Houlihan. And that's also a fun Link's house check. As soon as you exit Houlihan, you can check Link's house. Alright, Cinaeth is going to continue in Death Mountain. And we'll see what's next. MM2 is performing a downwards teleport near Link's house, and this will put him at the bottom of the screen. And where will we go from here? It looks like a fake flippers, and he gets it. And the fake flippers will take him to the hobo under the bridge. And that has our Moon Pearl. Excellent. Good find. Hobo is a great location for Moon Pearl. It's one of those things that you either get right away, or you save it for later, or you forget about it. It's all in Sphere 1 because fake flippers is all it takes to get there. Not even a major glitch is required to get there. And yeah, it's there's so much open to the racers. It is difficult to race this mode. It's because so much is open. It's hard to know where to go for progression. Cinaeth talked to Sahasrahla to find the green pendant location, so that's good to know. He won't have to check the map right away if he doesn't want to. So MM2 is now in Kakariko Village. It's quite often we see Kakariko Village delayed. And it looks like both runners are going there now. So makes sense. We'll see if anything's here. Probably. But nothing so far. And I like the sprites that the runners are using. MM2 is Modern Link, a simple recolor of the original Link sprite, and Cinaeth is Breath of the Wild Link. I prefer Link sprites as a way to know exactly how I'm lining up pixel positions. and I think a lot of runners do the same, but not everyone. Others take on the challenge of learning other positions for different sprites. So far we have a book of Medora in the tavern of Kakariko, and that book will allow us to get items from the tablets, but it's not really our desert entry. If we want to go to desert, we'll clip in from the north side, typically, or the east side, and enter the left entrance. And we're seeing MM2 do it. So he set up an upwards teleport that puts Link in a funky position that will cause him to hop downwards. So he's able to transition downward. And like I said, he enters desert left. Inside of a dungeon, things are not any different from, well, they are slightly different, but compared to no glitch item fill randomizer, the rules are the same. We try to keep that consistent with the rules of no major glitches rando. So dungeons operate very similarly. There are slight differences based on, well, you're allowed to enter from different entrances and such. And we're seeing Cinaeth do a similar upwards teleport to get into desert. It's not uncommon to see desert entered early when it's not clearable. And it's not clearable because we don't have a fire source yet. But that's okay. Cinaeth, okay, so MM2 claimed 20 rupees and is now leaving. I believe that is the second item. I might be wrong. So might as well take the nearby exit. And is this an Agena check is my question. Probably book check. Yeah, so tablet. We're checking tablet now. We'll see what's on Bombos. And maximum health increased. Yeah. Just a heart container. So, we also see MM2 routing in Cave 45. It's adjacent to the desert, and it's often a good check to combine either with the desert area or as an opening going toward Kakariko. And yeah, nothing at Agena, but it's a good place to exit, to end the play rather, and go on to the next thing. Looks like MM2 is headed toward Death Mountain. Cinaeth also made the same exit at Desert, and we'll see where Cinaeth wants to go. Yeah, starting with tablet. Oh, no, not yet. Okay, Cinaeth will be checking the tablet. Cinaeth does remember he has the book and can make that check. And MM2 is starting Hera. And he's trying to get out of the basement without wasting too many resources. So Cinaeth also making the rounds at Cave 45. Okay, so we are fire locked out of Hera. And, you know, that's okay. Even though we're Firelocked in Hera and Desert, it's not a bad thing to check them early. Because it doesn't cost very much to enter these dungeons. And we might be able to complete them early anyway, but not this time. So let's see if we're exploring more of Death Mountain. It looks like we are. MM2 is going to go to East Death Mountain. So he's going to boots clip over to the east. He's using sort of a different bump here to push Link into the wall. Link wiggles back and forth, sort of rotating the D-pad, and it pushes Link through the collision of the wall, which is unlike anything else in the overworld. But it does allow Link to be pushed over to the east side where there's a land bridge that connects East Death Mountain and West Death Mountain, something we do not see in a normal playthrough of the game. Cinaeth also checking Graveyard Ledge, so both runners are even on that check. Nothing in Spiral Cave, I don't think, unless I ignored it. So MM2 will continue in Paradox Cave. Cinaeth also going to the fairy hole. This will also Houlihan him. Oh, he's already been here. There are no rupees. So he's just going to continue. A blue instrument is found in Paradox Cave. We will not be needing this instrument for progression, but we can use it to get around the world easier. The flute is not necessary to get into Mire, because we can, of course, clip in. It is helpful, and it is a time save if we can activate it early. So... Okay, so that's the end of the Death Mountain play, and there is a Master Sword there. So Cinaeth is missing out on that in his South Hyrule check. That won't be too much of a problem, I hope. So Cinaeth is not able to flute through this area, but that's okay. Also not losing too much time there. Did MM2 check either? I believe so, and I did not see progression there. So Cinaeth has not checked that, I don't believe. So either is Couch Cache, so nothing to be found on the tablet. So book is not progression today. It's a pretty empty seed so far in the light world. And part of that reason might be, well, I don't know about the reasoning. Usually there's just a lot of stuff in Sphere 1 and Overworld Glitches. So far we don't have a lot. We have Cane of Burna, book which led to nothing, and an extra sword. Bottle that led to nothing. And the Moon Pearl. And Cinaeth just still has to find the Moon Pearl still. And Cinaeth may not find it immediately. He's setting up a water walk by dashing along the edge of that cave. And Cinaeth is going to use its water walk to explore the sort of normally flipper blocked items. Yeah, he's going straight into the whirlpool. So we'll find out what's in the waterfall of wishing. A piece of heart that did not refill his energy, so he's maintaining water walk state. If he did have his hearts refilled there, it would actually take him out of this state. Unfortunate. That would be unfortunate, but he's fine. It's like at this stage of the game, if that happens, there's suddenly a 1 in 4 chance you have to redo this glitch. If you don't have Moon Pearl, anyway. Alright, so nothing is in the Zora and Waterfall area. So Cinaeth is kind of running out of locations to find Moon Pearl, but still can check Eastern, can check Hyrule Castle, might be routing in Hobo here. It looks like it, or maybe he'll check the... Yeah, he could have checked... Yeah, maybe he did check the island, but he's going to buy something. He's going to buy bombs. And MM2 will also not be leaving behind these water blocked checks, and will be doing water walk as well. Okay, now Cinaeth is going to do another downwards teleport here, and hopping down to the screen transition. Yeah, and that allows him to bypass the eastern wall and set up that fake flipper that MM2 did earlier. So they both will have Moon Pearl. Assuming we... Wow. Okay, I almost spoke too soon there. Cinaeth was hit by an arrow, but not a problem. He had a shield. Getting hit by an arrow there would reset the fake flippers, which I think would be okay, or maybe it wouldn't be okay. Yeah, it would not be okay. You would have to save it. I think you would have to save and quit, or if the rando patch of knocking out the player is active, then he would be knocked out. I'm not quite sure about that one. Alright, so both players have Moon Pearl. Cinaeth is not going to the Dark World. He'll be doing East Death Mountain. MM2 also with that Moon Pearl, still not going to the Dark World. Like I said, I was surprised not much has been found in the Light World, and perhaps there's more to be found before we go to the Dark World. Perhaps there's a mirror about. Perhaps there's a weapon that will allow us to do Dark World dungeons. Probably a good idea to check more of the Light World before going to the Dark World. So I appreciate the sort of thoroughness that we're seeing before we get too deep into the game. And MM2 attempted a spin speed clip off of Death Mountain that probably would have... He probably wanted to transition downward, maybe to check King's Tomb, but the inputs were not quite right, so he was stuck at the bottom, and he gets it the second try. So what's happening here is he's going to nudge up, or buffer up just 1 frame or so, and he's going to pick up the heavy rock because he's landed on it and a bush at the same time, so it confuses the game. And all of a sudden we can pick up a heavy rock, which is very convenient. And it allows us to check King's Tomb, and of course there's nothing in King's Tomb. That's unfortunate. But he will continue on. And MM2... See, we're using the other side of that wall. We use the right side of the cliff to transition downward, and we're using the left side of it to screen wrap Link. So that allows us to enter Hera. When we enter Hera, by the way, it corrects the camera. We're now getting a mic check. We're getting a map check, and we're seeing pendants at Mire and Ice Palace. And we knew that Green Pendant was at Skullwoods. Now we're seeing a DMD, a Death Mountain Descent. That portal that allows us to go to the Dark World and normally allows us to go to Hera, well, we can use that to go anywhere in the Dark World in Overworld Glitches. And Cinaeth is doing the same thing, checking the Dark World at the same time. So Cinaeth is, wait a minute, Cinaeth is on a different slope, and we see that Cinaeth is missing his shadow. And what I missed is that Cinaeth did not correct his camera. Now Cinaeth is going to check something different. He's not going to do a normal DMD like MM2 did. He's going to do a super drop. We're going to see Cinaeth attempt a super drop that would take him to the south side of the world, but maybe there will be a take two. He landed in a way that was unsafe, or placed him in a position that stuck him. So let's see. It looks like Cinaeth will give it another try. Meanwhile, MM2 is seeing what can be cleared out of Skull Woods. We find 300 rupees so far. I don't know if that was the second item or not. So we'll just wait for the Wall Master to take us back. All right, we're seeing Cinaeth get the lineup. It looks like he's ready to hop downward, and we're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 wraps of the screen. And let's jump again. 1, 2, 3, 4 more times. And great. Let's transition to the left. And all of a sudden, we're at the very bottom of the Dark World. Always fun to see. It's a good way to check Hype Cave early if you don't have a glove or hammer. And just like Hera corrected the camera before, Swamp Palace also corrects the camera. Any multi-entrance cave or dungeon, any dungeon, these will correct your camera. Even Link's house will correct your camera in a unique way. So what I mean by correcting the camera is the transitions are normal, interactions with sprites are normal, and there won't be any soft lock because we're back to normal. All right, so in Hype Cave we have a shovel. All right, well, we'll keep that in mind, I guess. Meanwhile, Cinaeth is going through Village of Outcasts. He's dipping Thieves Town. Will be interesting to see if MM2 will clear Thieves Town or just check the front. Maybe he'll clear it. He just found Hammer in the very first chest of Thieves Town. And of course, what we need to clear Thieves Town is in Thieves Town. So it's a crystal that we can do, so probably we will complete it. Cinaeth, going through the south Dark World, will continue into Misery Mire. We're seeing a south teleport, a downward teleport. We're seeing some flashing on the screen, so I should have mentioned this as an alert, but this will dissipate right after this entrance. So what happened there is there's a rain layer in Misery Mire that is not correctly activated through a screen transition. We normally need it to have it appear through a mirror, through a teleporter. I mean, through a Dark World portal. All right. We also got to see the Medallion of Mire, I think. Although he did dash above it, so maybe I missed it the first time around. I mean, I did miss it. So Cinaeth is going to continue on. All right. Well, one thing we know about Misery Mire is that it is a pendant, so we're not especially concerned about the medallion. Although it looks like our tracker spotted that it was Quake to enter. Hopefully nothing is in there that we need. Powder is found at the digging game. That was a lot of digs, unfortunately. We couldn't get out of there before the text box appeared. Cinaeth now is going to continue into Village of Outcasts using a couple of teleports. We'll need to do, what, an upward teleport, right? To teleport us upwards into town. We don't have mitts, so we can't get the rock out of our way. Yeah, an upward teleport takes us beyond the stump, and then one more will take us up the cliff. And as expected with that hammer, MM2 is continuing on and clearing Thieves Town. We didn't have a key to check the big chest, which is pretty convenient. We don't need to check it because it won't have anything. It'll have the missing key. And I wonder if we'll have Cinaeth checking Thieves Town as well. And MM2 is fighting his first boss. We're a bit off script on the blind fight going into phase 3, but that's should be okay. We do have blue mail. And blind is down. Great. And we get a blue boomerang as a reward. And Cinaeth will probably clear this dungeon as well. We'll see where MM2 goes next. I suspect Mire and South Dark World. And with that hammer, maybe, the entire Dark World. Maybe not another dungeon right away, but maybe. Oh, I suppose we almost forgot digging game. So MM2 will be digging those, what seemed like 30 digs. Not exactly, but it was a lot. And Cinaeth will follow in clearing Thieves Town. Okay, so MM2 accidentally teleported upwards. Unless that was purposeful. I don't think it was. I think MM2 wants to go south. There he goes. He got the downward teleport, which puts him in a position to kind of hop and then go south to Misery Mire. And again, we get those flashing textures that are just glitched textures. And again, those disappear after going into an entrance. They'll also disappear since they represent the rain. once we open Misery Mire, the rain will disappear. All right, so MM2 continues eastward. Going to check Old Stumpy. And Cinaeth has some enemies get in the way here. This is one of those tricky rooms where you need to check the RNG as soon as you enter. And hopefully the enemies will behave as you expect. Depending on how the runners use their menus, they may want to save a menu switch for that room. Or nowadays with Quick Swap on, it becomes a little trickier to read RNG by using a menu switch or a menu buffer. So rooms like that can be a bit trickier to execute. Okay, so MM2 is continuing in the Dark World. A random bomb blocks his path. Thank you to the Hinox for throwing that. A lot of enemies are getting in the way, it seems. So yeah, this is a good time to bonk this tree for a fairy. Meanwhile, Cinaeth is fighting blind. And blind gets away a little bit. So blind is being very defensive here, but eventually succumbs to Link. Okay, and MM2, still no flippers, but is swimming around in a moat where Link should not be normally. So this swim here will allow MM2 to reach the Peg Cave. And it's a pretty simple glitch to get in here. It's one of those super speed clips. And the lineup is with a bush. So it's pretty simple. And then the fake flipper is free too, because you just hold left. Alright, but nothing's in Peg Cave. That's too bad. Because that was one of those one-off checks that can really throw the race. And Cinaeth going north to continue on in the Dark World. MM2's next play is Escape. I like this. We didn't find too much in the Light World. There's still a good chance we'll find something here. I'm trying to remember where we found powder. I don't recall, unfortunately. But we know that both players have it thanks to our tracker. Okay, so 10 arrows was the first item in Skullwoods. And it looks like both runners will have cleared Skullwoods, except for that green pendant. We won't find out what that is until we have the ability to beat Mothula. Alright, so there is progression to be found in Escape. Potentially, we will need that Bombos medallion. We don't know yet, but we can treat it like progression for now. That Bombos medallion allows us to get into Ice Palace if we don't have Fire Rod. might allow us entry into the first part of Turtle Rock, potentially. We would have to have that medallion and cane, but we don't have that. We don't have a reason to do that. So what is Cinaeth's next play here? He's got the powder, so we might be seeing a fetch quest here. MM2 goes for hammer strats and finds the flippers at Zelda's cell. That's important. So definitely a required item here in Hyrule Castle. And MM2 takes a death warp to continue on. He will be sequence breaking these dark rooms to check the remaining 4 chests here in Hyrule Castle and sewers. Oh, Cinaeth will also be activating Flute. That's a good time to do that. MM2 making his way in the dark. Through Hyrule Castle's sewers. And what is Cinaeth's next play going to be? Are we checking King's Tomb, perhaps? Cinaeth is holding steady, perhaps getting mentoring from his mentor, Malmo. Malmo may be reminding Cinaeth how to line up this jump so we can get into King's Tomb. We see Cinaeth inching over to the right. This is not how I would approach this. And we can see that it does not place Cinaeth on top of the rock like we hoped. So maybe we'll try again. Meanwhile, MM2 finds the hook shot in the sewers. So really good play and really good sequence break to continue. Very surprising to me to see 2 progression items in Hyrule Castle. But, you know, the first item we found was a small key, so there's still 6 items to be found there. So it really should not be a surprise. And like I said, it was a pretty light world in terms of progression until now. So those flippers, I believe we can call that Sphere 1, although maybe it's blocked by a small key. And then the hookshot is either blocked by a fire source or the gloves. We're seeing Cinaeth go to Hyrule Castle. Hopefully, Cinaeth will find both of these required items that are here. MM2 has a hookshot. We're seeing him go to the Dark World. I wonder if we're going to Hookshot Cave. And again, he'll do this wiggling action. It's the Turtle Rock climb is what I typically call it. Because it is sort of a wall climb that we use to go to Turtle Rock in speedruns. We're not going to Turtle Rock now, but we'll use it to get to East Dark World. So MM2 is hopping down. We don't have a glove, do we? So how are we getting into Hookshot Cave? Well, there is an entrance at the very top of the screen, and we know how to screen wrap to that area. So we're doing a couple of hops to screen wrap link, and we can enter the top of Hookshot Cave. All right, so Cinaeth going for slash strats versus BNC, and does find flippers, and is death warping, which means Cinaeth likely will find Hookshot in the sewers. And MM2 doesn't find anything in MM2 does not find anything in Hookshot Cave. Oh, Bombos is the medallion. So my rambling earlier was correct. Bombos allows us into Turtle Rock. But of course, we don't have the cane yet. So that doesn't matter. Also, some players will never go through the front of Turtle Rock. So it doesn't typically matter. But the medallion may be important for indicating key lock situations. All right, and Catfish is nearby East Death Mountain as well. So we could do a DMD, and we saw MM2 do a DMD to check Catfish, and nothing was there. Meanwhile, Cinaeth navigating through the dark. Right, so MM2 has Hookshot, and very well done. Performed a hook speed Harapot. And is now approaching. Well, we'll check another chest and then we'll go to Moldorm. MM2 is skipping Big Key, so as it happens, we may or may not be skipping a chest, and we'll find out as we get to Moldorm. So there we go. So Cinaeth has Hookshot and Flippers, and both runners are equal on progression once again. Okay, interesting. MM2 is slashing Moldorm to get him where he wants. Master Sword slashes are the same as Fighter Sword slashes, but then spins get us to the next level of damage. We did get an item from Moldorm, so if I remember correctly, that is both items. And we can skip the Big Key and full clear the dungeon. So there we go, a second crystal earned for MM2. Cinaeth, however, not going to go that route. We'll be checking Ganon's Tower. This is a great idea because Cinaeth has Hammer and Hookshot, and in fact, MM2 has the same idea. So we're seeing both runners go into Ganon's Tower, and we'll be clearing the left side. Often we find Samaria in Ganon's Tower as well. I don't know if that will happen, but it happens from time to time. There are 27 chests in Ganon's Tower. It's pretty likely we'll find progression here. It's also a dungeon we have to clear anyway. It's not guaranteed we'll be able to clear it, of course. We still need a fire source and bow to get past the mimics if we don't mimic clip. And And we of course cannot clear the right side of Ganon's tower until we have Samaria and a fire source. Cinaeth is taking on switches with blue boomerang, and then the second set with bombs. MM2 going to use a blue boomerang strat that unfortunately got him stuck. If I were MM2, I would use a diagonal down left boomerang and either walk or use hookshot. No, if I use a diagonal down left, I would walk. If I throw the boomerang down, I'll hook to the right. That's what I would do there. MM2 is going for bombs instead. And that works. Yeah, here's the mirror. The magic mirror is in Ganon's tower. So now we have access to Swamp Palace. All of Swamp Palace is clearable. So let's start thinking about what else we need for go mode. We need the bow to complete Pod and Eastern. We need a fire source for desert. We need Fire Rod and Ice Rod and Cane of Samaria to get through Turtle Rock. We also do not need to clear Ice Palace. So we do not need a glove to get to Cold Stair. Or the typical mitts, of course, to enter. We don't need to worry about that in Overworld Glitches, usually. But it's a pendant anyway. Cinaeth is getting a bit cornered by the enemies, but that's okay. We are going to powder Bob the anti-fairy, and turn him into a fairy. Hi, Bob. And hi, Bob. We have both runners going into Ice Armas. Cinaeth, MM2, both equipping Cane of Berna. Berna is the best item to get through this. So they did not group the Armos statues optimally. That's okay. MM2 has a green potion and can continue using the strat. Cinaeth is going to continue with slashes. Master Sword, unfortunately, is the slowest sword to have for this fight without beams. If we had full hearts, we could spam sword beams, which would clear them very rapidly. And it could be a fight that takes less than 30 seconds. MM2 does get through it, and of course, Cane of Samaria and the Power Glove is here. What a reward. So Cinaeth can increase damage with spins. Master Sword spins will do the same damage as Tempered Sword slashes or Fighter Sword slashes. Normal slashes, you know, maybe they're quick, they'll cause a bit of damage, but they do half damage. I believe it takes 24. No, I don't know if that's correct. I think it might be, I know it's 48 boomerangs for each statue. I think it's either 24 Master Sword or 24 Fighter Sword. I can't remember which. Okay, so both runners have their gloves. and their Samaria. So now, is it going to be Swamp? I think it's going to be Swamp for both players. MM2 gets through GT first and is first into Swamp. Cinaeth hot on his heels. They both have no magic power, but that's okay. We're going into Swamp Palace. We don't really need it very much. Both runners drained their magic meter on Armus, which is pretty typical. When you don't have the bow and you're approaching Armus Knights, you're probably going to use one of your magical items. So, we'll see here what's in Swamp Palace. First item, the compass. And Swamp Palace is known to be sort of death by a million cuts. The enemies don't do very much damage. It's Crystal 2 in the vanilla game. But the enemies they're really densely packed into this dungeon, and they are very random and can hit you very easily. So it's not too dangerous, but it can get scary if you take too much damage. And I do want to thank our tracker. I believe it's Minus. I may be pronouncing your name wrong, but Minus27, thanks so much for tracking all of our items. And we see that we have all 4 bottles. So I wonder if they have potions or fairies. I'm pretty sure they both have, or maybe it's MM2 who has a fairy in a bottle at least. So we're not in too much danger, like I'm saying, here in Swamp Palace. Okay, so MM2 is bombing this crystal switch. So we'll see him set up Diver Down, a more recent glitch it was part of our sort of 2020 controversial glitch sort of rulings and fines. It's quite an interesting discovery, but we can use the ledge where this railing is to jump over the water tiles. So it's sort of minor in a way that we're just clipping beyond this 8-pixel wide railing and abusing its hop property to jump over the part of the water that causes Link to swim. So MM2 gets the hop. He's not swimming, and is able to get the key and is able to keep the pegs down. They switch downward once the bomb exploded upon transitioning back. And we'll see what Cinaeth does here. Cinaeth, I believe, grabbed the key first. I might be wrong about that. And we'll see. It doesn't look like anything's on left side swamp. And we're seeing MM2 down to 3 hearts. Again, it's not too big of a deal, but you know, jumping onto these hovers can be a bit damaging, especially with Master Sword, where they don't die to a poke. So he's starting to clear them out so they don't damage him. And we're seeing MM2 also skip the statue pull room, and instead is going to use Diver Down here as well. What we saw before was a way to clip that railing using a bomb. He'll be using a bomb again. He does have Cane of Samaria, so could potentially use the cane instead. But everyone kind of learns these glitches in a different way, or is practiced in a different way. We're seeing Cinaeth not use this glitch. So in the time that Cinaeth is losing to redoing the glitch, Cinaeth is making progress through like normal. And so there's not too much of an advantage gained. Both of these applications of Diver Down were not sequence breaks, they're just shortcuts. So MM2 still maintains a bit of a lead, but not that much of a lead. And then how they approach Argus will be a big difference as well. So how is it going to happen? So MM2 may have started poke dashing. Yes, it looks like MM2 wants to get poke dashes, but is not quite getting them. Cinaeth is just going for straight up slashing. Slowly but surely will take care of the pups. So Cinaeth doesn't quite, or MM2 is not quite getting the poke dash to maintain the hooks, and is going for spins. One spin will kill a puff. Close in time to using 2 slashes, which Cinaeth is doing. And yeah, Cinaeth defeats the Argai first, and we're on to phase 2 Argus. Just going with spins, that is, you know, the way to do this rodless, really. No ice rod, no fire rod, no silver arrows. And takes down Argus first. MM2 also will be going with spins. And Swamp really seemed like the place to be, but there's no progression here, unfortunately. That's okay. We're ahead. One more crystal, and now we can perhaps dip another dungeon, or... Okay, so Cinaeth is going to try King's Tomb again. Okay, looking good so far. 1 buffer upwards. Cinaeth can hopefully simply dash to the right. Then it'll be, I believe, just a tap up and a tap left to push Link into the position necessary to slash the bush or pick up the rock. Cinaeth is probably getting instruction from Malmo. I haven't mentioned the mentor pairs yet. We have Espeon mentoring MM2, I wonder how they are getting along in terms of routing decisions. I don't know their routing personally too well, and MM2 appears fairly confident with the glitches that he's using to navigate. So I wonder how Espeon is advising him. Oh, I missed it on Cinaeth's screen. I didn't see Cinaeth get into King's Tomb. So Malmo is a more recent Overworld Glitches runner, but definitely an expert. And shout outs to Malmo for organizing this tournament. And thanks again to Go Mode Podcast for sponsoring it and restreaming it on their Twitch channel. So MM2 does not get anything from the Grove. I wonder what the next play is. We're going to 5. So this is interesting. Are we going to Eastern Palace? Are we going to Sahasrahla? MM2 is going to not going to Sahasrahla, but is going to Eastern Palace. MM2 took the scenic route here. I don't know why he didn't use his gloves to go up from 5. Either they were trying to figure out something regarding routing, or they forgot they had gloves or something along those lines. So used a few dashes to get around that overworld. Another option for the Eastern overworld is to use the Eastern clip. In other words, it's a downwards teleport that will screen wrap Link. And so we find progression in Eastern Palace. Not the progression that we want to see, but it is something. It is the mitts. The Titan's mitts are in Eastern Palace. Funny that we find that after the Ganon's Tower power gloves, but such is randomizer. Because of course we find the hammer and the moon pearl and the hook shot to clear Ganon's Tower left side before we go into Eastern Palace. Okay, we see Cinaeth having done a DMD on the east side of the world. A downward teleport from the area south of Catfish gets us into the pod screen. A great shortcut and a great way to route in pod from Catfish and from Eastern Dark World. So I think this is a great way to cut down on overworld time. And we're seeing Cinaeth gain a bit of an advantage on overworld travel here. And I also want to give a shout out to chat. Welcome back to chat. I see your questions if you have any, or comments or corrections to anything that I'm saying. And how about that? We have the bow, the first chest in pod. That really made pod the play here. So shout out. So that's great. That's very fortunate for Cinaeth. So in addition to cutting down on overworld time, Cinaeth found the bow in the proper order and can clear both of these dungeons. MM2, on the other hand, does find Ice Rod in Eastern Palace. So that gives us both Titan's mitts and Ice Rod cave. I mean, Ice Rod, I'm sorry, excuse me. So the light world continues to be interesting. After a somewhat slow start, 2 items were in Hyrule Castle, and now 2 more items in Eastern. Actually, excuse me. Yeah, well, yeah, 2 items in Eastern Palace, and then the bow is in Pod. So, it'll be interesting to see how things turn out from here. Cinaeth does have the bow, so he opted for clearing Eastern Palace first. Pretty good way to route this after finding bow. If he doesn't skip anything, he'll find Ice Rod. And we'll probably be completing both dungeons. MM2 is going for Overworld, so is checking Spike Cave. Are we going to get out of here alive? Well, we can use a red potion. And what's the next play after a Spike Cave? Normally, you can pair Spike Cave and Ganon's Tower together. If we have Mirror, we could also check Pyramid Fairy. Is that what we're gonna do? Yes. We're seeing MM2 align with the bottom edge of the screen and place Mirror Portal. The Mirror Portal is placed sort of where the game thinks Link's global position is, which is displaced. So I'm not sure what we call this glitch. I normally call it misplaced Mirror Portal, but I think there's a catchier name for it that Malmo's been using and other people. I'm not sure what we want to call that exactly. All right, just red mail in the Pyramid Fairy. We also get a red potion refill. All right, so that's still no fire source, so we are totally in the dark, dealing with the gifted with Greenie's room. So we are trying to figure out where's the Igor, when is its eye going to open? Will I be able to get past the Popos? All right, let's reset the room. That's a good call. Another thing we could do if we were really desperate is to get fairies from the drop-down pots. But we're not in the early game where that might be more necessary. All right, MM2 has the mitts and is going into Ice Palace. This is a pendant, but it's full clearable, right? We have bombos, we have the hammer and a glove. We got in with the myths, so that was easy. Okay, we missed the freezer. We had to wait until it was activated. All right. Yeah, so there are 3 items here. It's not uncommon to have progression in Pendant Ice Palace. It's not 100% certain that mitts are the progression to get into Ice Palace. Link can also perform currently in Logic screen wrap that can get Link in with just flippers and Moon Pearl. So, but the mitts were a good reminder that Ice Palace is open and it can be quickly accessed. All right, so Cinaeth is now a crystal ahead with that. Well, I'm not sure he's ahead of MM2, but does gain another crystal, and is probably going to get another as he enters Palace of Darkness. He doesn't have a key because the first chest had that bow, so has to start pod on the right. MM2, meanwhile, will be using Icebreaker, another one of our 2020 discoveries. And how about that? Really nice use of that glitch to get through there smoothly. It's sort of extended door state. The cane allows us to trick the game into thinking we're still in the doorway. So we don't have anything so far. Okay, we have Fire Rod in Palace of Darkness, and that's just found it on the right side pod. So things are coming together pretty nicely for Cinaeth. Is that it? Is that all? Is Cinaeth in go mode? Well, Cinaeth needs a big key, first of all. Cinaeth can clear Turtle Rock. As far as I can tell, that's it. All we needed was that Fire Rod. So everything happened really quickly on the east side of the world. What we were missing was Fire Rod, Ice Rod, and Bow. Cinaeth found Bow in Palace of Darkness in that first chest. Meanwhile, MM2 was in Eastern, found Mitts and Ice Rod in Eastern Palace. So Cinaeth was able to clear Eastern and find Ice Rod, and then continue on in Pod and find Fire Rod. So that's go mode for Cinaeth. We also find Lamp in a dark room, which is kind of funny. It's more, I believe that's a V30 change or something along those lines. One of the more recent randomizers logics where because we have Fire Rod, we can light up this room. And Cinaeth didn't light up the room, but was able to navigate it anyway. And Cinaeth finds Tempered Sword in Pod. So we, Ganon will no longer be a pain. We don't have silver arrows, but we can use Tempered Sword to do an NMG style Ganon. We can clear beat the game with Tempered, just like an NMG. So that's pretty good. So unfortunately for MM2, we won't be finding anything important in Ice Palace. MM2 will have to have some incentive to go back to Pod to find the bow to really make progress in this seed. However, there is an alternate possibility. Maybe bow is available somewhere else. But nothing can compare to Cinaeth's route. Cinaeth is already in go mode. Cinaeth was on the east side of the world where Fire Rod was. So it's Cinaeth's race to lose at this point. And meanwhile, MM2 is going to clear Pendant Ice Palace. I don't know if we're going to the boss or not. This Palace of Darkness, meanwhile, really was loaded. We were in go mode at Fire Rod, and the sword and the lamp were bonuses, and will help us get through these rooms much quicker. MM2's clear of Ice Palace is, you know, it was a bit slow getting to use the correct bomb jumps, but that's okay. We'll check the boss. We'll check Cold Stare to see if he holds anything. We don't have a full magic bar. We don't need it. We just need to cast Bombos. Meanwhile, Cinaeth is on Helmasaur King. And Tempered Sword will dispatch Helma pretty quickly. Lots of explosions on both screens as we unlock Cold Stare. Okay, so MM2 is down to 1 heart here. I believe we'll be okay with our 4 bottles, but we are sandwiched, so what's going to happen here? We get a Fairy Revival. And we are sword slashing and spinning. So Cold Stare, unfortunately, is a laborious fight here without Fire Rod and without Tempered. So Pod not only gave us our go mode, but also the sword that really allows us to clear bosses much faster. Oops. Cinaeth is going for Desert now with that fire source. Does not place the portal exactly correct. If you're lined up with Misery Mire, and the sort of the flower designs, you can be sure that you'll get into Desert Palace. We also saw Cinaeth try to perform a key dash, but we saw him nudge upwards before starting the dash, and he wanted to dash first, then dash turn upwards. But these are minor movement errors. Yeah, so MM2 has so much of the world open. It'll be difficult to narrow down the decision exactly correct here. We don't know for sure whether we're going to consider Pod, you know, as a last location, or like on our list, or just as something that's really undesirable with this item set. But we do get a mirror wrap, so we're going into Turtle Rock. MM2 used the magic mirror on the same frame as the transition and was able to get into Turtle Rock. That's not an in-logic maneuver, but it is a fast way to get through Laser Bridge and a fast way to clear Turtle Rock if you have the ability to beat the boss. Unfortunate, we've found Quake. So that opens up Misery Mire for MM2, potentially postponing Palace of Darkness that much longer, because MM2 now has the ability to full clear Misery Mire, a pendant. So this is a pretty evil seed, in my opinion. It's just putting out bait for the wrong dungeons for MM2, whereas Cinaeth found the right dungeon to go into to to lead to actual progression. And Cinaeth, very nice, pulled off a Harapot with hook speed. And Cinaeth used a method of pausing movement before doing the diagonal and the lateral movement. It's not a movement that I would choose based on not having exact diagonal movements without a buffer, but it worked. So that is great. And Cinaeth takes down Moldorm with the hammer. Actually, wait a minute. Tempered sword. Excuse me. Why did I think I saw a hammer? Alright, anyway. MM2 will continue on in Turtle Rock from back to front. A lot of entrance shuffle racers know how to complete this dungeon from back to front, and in Overworld Glitches, it's much the same way. There's also the option of checking the big chest in the middle. If it were me, I like to check the big chest last because I can leave the dungeon and come back from the entrance. Okay, it's a possibility anyway. MM2 might not have that option. I'm not quite sure. Or maybe he already checked big chest. I'm not sure. Meanwhile, Cinaeth going from back to front as well. And by the way, both racers have mirror shield and are able to get through the laser bridge without laser skips. So that's convenient. So what does Cinaeth need here? Cinaeth needs a small key. He already has it. And now is just looking for a big key. And from the logic of the glitches that are used for the item fill algorithm, big key cannot be in this roller room chest. But it can be anywhere beyond this point. So that's where Cinaeth is going. Typically, we do find that small key on Laser Bridge. Not always, but often. Okay, MM2 comes out of the front of Turtle Rock, but has not yet opened it. So he was able to mirror out of Turtle Rock and then use the peg puzzle to get back into the Dark World. And this, like I said, will allow him to get back into Turtle Rock. Looks like he'll check that big chest, or maybe start with Mimic Cave. Okay, Cinaeth has a little trouble with Mimic Cave, but once we get that hammer, we're fine. And... or did I say Cinaeth? I meant MM2 if I said that. Meanwhile, Cinaeth is just looking for Big Key. And then we'll mirror back to the end of the dungeon. And there we go. Right, so MM2 checks the big chest, and that's the end of that play. for MM2. MM2 is going to use what he's found. I'm guessing Mire. I may be wrong. There may be... Okay, he's gonna flute. Where are we fluting? So, it looks like a pedestal check to me. This is a good check at this point. It would be interesting to know. We wouldn't be able to access the pedestal item without the fire rod. And we know that would be go mode, so this is not going to be opened. It is half magic. Your magic power has been doubled, it says. Meanwhile, Cinaeth is at Trinex. Is this going to be Cinaeth's last boss before Ganon? I believe so. And playing it safe, Cinaeth uses a bottle to refill hearts. And we are fine. So from here, MM2 is continuing in the Dark World. Where will he check next? Oh yes, so we have those mitts. One annoying thing about the mitts is that it really doesn't open up too much other than the Smith's chain. And how about that? The next bow is at Trinex, so the bow will not be found through alternate means for MM2. The bow is blocked by Fire Rod, which was blocked by bow in pod. So there's no chance that that bow will be our first bow. Unless something disastrous happens and we forget about the first chest in pod. But yeah, this is it's not even like it's just a terrible seed that does not allow for any alternate solutions. It just leads us on the wrong track if we're not on it. If we're not on the right track. All right, so Cinaeth, to get to Ganon, I wasn't thinking about this at the time, but there is one more boss we have to fight before Ganon, which is Aghanim 2. We were not able to clear this before, because not only did we not have a bow, but we didn't have a fire source. Oh, right. So, this is great. MM2 is finally going to pod, and that's excuse me. Something about the logic, I believe, has pushed them toward pod rather than Misery Mire. And I think it might have to do with that lamp blocked Quake medallion. I didn't think of it, but that medallion was blocked by the lamp. And we don't have access to the and MM2 doesn't have the lamp. So it's potential there potentially MM2 and Espeon were either pushed away from Misery Mire by the logic, or they're pushed away from Misery Mire just because they don't have a fire source. So I wonder which one it is. So Misery Mire is potentially not clearable. In addition, of course, there are 7 combined, or, 7, right, 8 potentially combined items to come out of Eastern and Pod, whereas Misery Mire only has 2 maximum. I mean, only has 2. Meanwhile, Cinaeth is climbing Ganon's tower. And we have silver arrows, which we got from Trinex. We could have used them on Blammo too, but tempered spins are pretty powerful and a lot easier to hit with. So, okay. Cinaeth is continuing on using Cane to clear these Wizard rooms. And meanwhile, MM2 is using the same sort of go to Eastern before Pod situation. I find that pretty interesting because, it's easier to beat Pod if you have the lamp. But of course, lamp was not in Eastern. It's in Pod. Or perhaps we're looking for more safety before Pod. I'm not quite sure. I might like to ask about that because there might be something I'm not thinking of here. All right, so that's a skipping chest now at the top of GT. There's nothing we really need to speed up the game any further. We don't get the quick kill on our most knights, but it won't make too much of a difference. It's just 10 arrows. Cinaeth takes a fall to Moldorm 2. We're a bit, when we charge up the sword, we are slightly vulnerable. We're a bit slow moving compared to Moldorm. So it's a little tricky to set up a spin and connect with Moldorm. Cinaeth does get it. And Cinaeth did have hookshot armed. So one thing to keep in mind is we can use the hookshot while we're charging a spin. And oftentimes Moldorm 2 will charge while we are using the hookshot. And then we don't take damage because the hookshot is out. And by the time the hookshot comes back, we release a spin and instantly hit. So it's one way to get an easy hit if we are feeling vulnerable with a charge. And it is a very good way to approach Moldorm 2 if you're using Master Sword spins, because you have to do it 3 times. All right. So MM2 finds that fire rod. That's got to be go mode. And then Cinaeth is cleaning up Aga 2 and takes care of Aga 2 nicely. And is on to Ganon. All right. So MM2 now just needs to find Big Key. Then we'll have Desert and Turtle Rock to clear. after pod. And then, of course, Ganon's tower. Cinaeth, meanwhile, just needs to defeat Ganon. We don't get a 1 cycle on the first phase, but that's okay. We're going into the second cycle. And we're playing it safe. Cinaeth is not going to go into that middle ring of bats. Cinaeth is going to play it safe and use flashes. And MM2 gets a stair launch. I believe that was yet another 2020 discovery, or at least application. I don't know. That was not discovered in 2020. That was actually discovered prior. But with that stair launch glitch, MM2 is able to get to the next room of pod a little bit more efficiently than normal. MM2 is about to find the lamp. Again, not lighting the torches before opening the chest. Alright, Cinaeth through with phase 2 and through with phase 3. Opts for torch glitch, which makes lining up shots with Ganon easier. Gets double, gets a single, maybe lights one more time. Yeah, we're firing at Ganon at the 4th hit, and Cinaeth takes down Ganon. So get your GGs in chat for Cinaeth taking care of this seed in an hour and 40 minutes. And we can check racetime.gg where our runners are racing, and the official time is an hour and 40 minutes and 15 seconds. So GG's to Cinaeth. And welcome Malmo and Cinaeth. GG's.
Thank you.
GG, Cinaeth. You just kept it cool the whole run. That was an amazing performance.
So how did you feel about the seed, both of you?
It was stupid. It was so stupid. Everything was out of logic for half the game.
I think the thing that saved me was pod. Like, the fact that pod was bow and both fire sources, I think that's really what saved me.
And the other bow was fire rod locked. I know, like, if you don't go to pod, you're just screwed.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we saw on MM2's side.
Yeah, and like having that red potion in our bottle really made us feel pod, you know. It's like, well, we can just do it. We're running out of things to do. Let's just do and the other thing that happened was finding that hookshot out of logic made hookshot cave a little nicer, so we could do hookshot cave into catfish into pod. Even if pod sucked, we still got all those other density locations and very little left to do that was nice. Didn't feel too bad going in here.
Right. That's a good reminder. I didn't think about how deep in the logic that hookshot was.
Oh yeah, everything.
That was behind a dark room or glove.
My brain was just tied in knots. Ever since we went into GT, found the cane and mirror, I was just like, what the heck? And the flippers also being in Zelda's cell was tying my brain in knots. We needed a fire source or glove because it was locked by the back of escape, right? By the glove. Am I correct about that? I might be wrong, actually.
I'm not really sure because the small key was at Sanctuary, right?
Oh, I kept thinking the small key was in Darkross. You're right, it was at Sank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that wasn't too bad.
The flipper's in logic, but the flipper's only locked us gloveless ice. Why would we go there?
Yeah, I mean, MM2 is a very good player, and I really thought I was going to lose this race against him because I know he's been putting a lot more practice into this than I have, considering I've been kind of restreaming a lot.
Sure, yeah.
But otherwise, this is just, and I'm turning on my mic on my stream right now. Actually, it's probably a bad idea. Yeah, there's
not forfeit.
This is just
because
and I'm
we
turning on
use
my
the
mic on
difference
my
in
stream
time.
right
Well, I
now.
guess he forfeits because he thinks he's 15 minutes
Um,
behind. That makes sense, actually.
Actually, Yeah. that's probably a bad idea.
Hi.
Hi,
Hey.
stupid seed.
Hi.
I'm sorry.
Espeon, and
Okay, where was the other bow?
Trinex.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you weren't
Lovely.
getting that.
Yeah, okay, so
I
you
mean,
went,
you'll get it
you, went,
eventually, but-
you went to pod after Catfish, and we didn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
had a logic hook shot, and we wanted to do density checks, so we went to mountain into pod into
Oh,
catfish.
you only had out of logic hookshot? We had out of logic hookshot, glove, cane of Samaria, mirror.
Oh, we had all of that too. We didn't want to follow those. Well, we did swamp. Okay, so we did swamp
Sure,
out of logic
sure.
because we were still missing a bow that didn't lock anything yet, and an ice rod.
Mhm.
So we just go there because there's probably something good there. Even an out of logic bow would have been nice. Half magic on Ped. What the heck?
Yeah, that was a fun
Yeah.
time.
Good thing I
You
didn't need
checked
the
that
half
right on
magic.
him, too.
Well, I gunned for Ice Palace. That was probably wrong.
You went to ice. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
didn't
we went to
touch
swamp,
ice.
so whatever.
We didn't touch
Bombo
ice.
Slippers.
Yeah,
Ice
Bombo
Palace.
Slippers was kind of cluing us in a little bit to ice too. We were talking about that early on, and then we started getting more and more out of logic, and we're like, okay, let's just do the catfish into pod play, and we found Bo right in front, did Eastern, like cleared Eastern, and then cleared pod, and then that was basically go mode right
Mhm.
there.
We definitely talked about Ice Palace when we found Bombos. And then the flippers after. I was confused
I
about
mean-
the
I
logic
mean-
because I thought the key was in Darkross, so
I didn't
thought
push
we
it
were-
for a while. Like I didn't want to go to Ice Palace. Like it was a thing. So like I think Ice Palace was the last thing before pod.
Oh, and Hammer and Thieves Town was kind of dumb too. And the whole empty early game, no bombs
that was
in the
the
first
end.
chest.
That
you had
was
to buy bombs.
actually that is what pushed me.
Mhm.
That's what pushed me to Ice. Because the early game was so empty that I was convinced that the spheres should be something relatively early.
Oh, because the
Mhm.
flippers and Bombos being so early.
Yeah,
that makes
flippers
sense.
and bombers are early.
I thought flippers were out of logic, so I was confused, but that worked in our favor. Because I was just misremembering where the key was in the escape.
Yeah,
Because we got
is
it so
fine.
early that I didn't like. I thought, oh, the key's just going to be in Darkross, but it wasn't.
yep.
I was speculating that there would be an alternate path to the bow, but of course it was also bow locked, fire locked.
That
Fire
haunted us because I said, okay, if there's just a bow in TR
Mhm.
that you can just get, then you go to Pod and Eastern and you get everything else.
Mhm.
But
Luckily, the bow was in pod.
when I saw that MN2
Well,
hadn't
the bow,
finished, yeah,
the bow was on TR.
I was like,
so,
you know,
Oh no, that's right.
that you can just get, but it wasn't Trinex. It doesn't count.
Mhm.
I'd
Yeah.
also like to point out that Cinaeth got a PB in the seed.
GG.
Imagine this seed being your PB. You have so many
Congrats.
PBs in you. You can get a better one because the seed was really bad.
I mean, it's not actually like that bad as long as you just get the bow at some point reasonably early before doing other stuff.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just do pod.
Do Pod.
Yeah,
Dude,
and we were just like,
we were,
no,
we were
let's not
saying that
pod.
too. As soon as we got the bow, we're like, do pod forehead.
We did say that. No, just do Pod.
And this is-
And then,
This is minor in the scheme of this seed, but how did you both approach entering Thieves Town? Since you had no hammer, except that it was in Thieves Town. Do you clear
So
Thieves Town?
it was originally our plan to clear outside of Village of Outcasts and then go into Thieves Town, clear the front, and then see what we got in the front. And if that gave us, even if that didn't give us hammer, probably go and clear Thieves Town anyways.
The idea is that
Yeah.
it's super hard to get back to because you have so little.
Yeah,
That's
just
Yeah.
do it. It's a crystal.
Yeah.
You can do it.
exactly. And we had done. We actually did super jump and gone north in hopes of finding anything.
Wow.
And we just wanted to find something, you know. So we found nothing.
Mhm.
So we're like, okay, it's Thieves Town or somewhere really dumb like
Yeah,
Gavin's
I mean,
Tower
we
with
found
nothing.
we found nothing in the other direction.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
The one thing I felt bad about in this race was the fact that I had to do King's Tomb like 5 times just to try and get it.
No,
we had a fun thing also, where we did Hera Clip a lot, but with bad subpixels, so we kept getting Kiki Yeet instead.
Oh, you got yeet. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Like 4 times, I think.
at least. It felt like 2 billion, but
Yeah.
Aren't you an RMG runner?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it's your RMG brain telling you to kiki yeet.
Yeah, but I didn't do it on the stairs. I just got bad subpixels, did the standard Hera Clip setup, and it just said, "Congratulations, you get to do Kiki Yeet."
Cool.
That sucks.
You'll fit right in with our hybrid major glitches races.
Yeah, once Codeman releases his package,
yes.
I'm definitely going to be taking part in a lot of those, probably.
We'll probably have one tomorrow after the race with Nicolas and Centroid.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious about how comfortable are you with fire dark rooms, because the seed wanted you to go to pod without any fire source. So like, does that scare you?
Not really. The only dark room I will say no, I'm not doing is the Meyer dark room, and obviously Aga 1, because who wants to do those? But
Nobody
other
does
ones I'm
Aga
fine
1.
with.
Yeah.
Slow.
Meyer is one you should probably learn. It's not as hard as it looks. You can have a really consistent setup that actually Espeon taught me.
Well, I didn't want to go to Meyer because
no, it sucks.
first quick medallion's on the laser bridge, and that's locked by fire rod. So
Yep.
like no,
I mean,
because once we get fire rod, we don't have to go there because we're done.
I hate doing the dark room there as well. It's not fun. So I completely agree with you that if I can find lamp, then I will be more comfortable in Meyer. But obviously, it wasn't required to seed, so we never went to Meyer.
Yep. Yeah, we laughed when we found Quake. We said, "Oh, look, it's Meyer. Let's go there." We were in go mode. We did. We never entered PR.
Yeah. We got go mode
was-
right about when you finished.
That made sense that your team did not go to Misery Mire finding Quake and Turtle Rock. I forgot that it would be Fire Rod Lock, but of course. And that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and you know what we also go moded was Tower of Hera, because we got the bottle in front and we saw the second key. And actually, Cinaeth had this. I said just don't get the key, but he said, well, I want to know if it's fire locked. And turns out that helped us a lot because knowing it was fire locked and just everything being behind fire made us not want to do Hera ever. So we got to go mode.
I mean, we just did it at some point, but it's like not a
It was
big
an item
boss.
on the boss, so you get a couple extra checks.
There's an item on the boss, and it's actually the item is not in the big chest, so you don't really leave with any regrets.
Yeah, it was fine. You just open 2 extra checks. That's all. But it was kind of cool. And he got like a 3rd try spin speed Hera clip, which is something I can't do.
Yeah.
That was nice.
I don't remember how long it took me to get spin speed Hera clip, but I think I got like 1st or 2nd try.
Yours was I think 1st try.
Yeah, your Hera clip was faster than mine would have been, or Hera pot. You need to stop calling it Hera clip.
It's a clip that's inside Hera, but it's not Hera clip.
Sorry, I do this every time.
Classic glitch naming.
Yeah, you have like Hera clip 1 and Hera clip 2.
See, those are left side, right side.
Yeah, this seed I think just played in my favor a little bit because it was just things I was more comfortable doing.
It's almost routing choices. I don't like going to pod from Catfish.
Oh,
it's
and
just
I do.
not what
It's
my
so
style.
fast. It's right there. You just click
but
down and check the
it's
first test.
It's garbage. It's terrible, and I don't want to do it.
And we had a bottle.
Waste a minute getting in a pod. It's not good.
Yeah, it's just, this is just do pod,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't do pod, and we lost because we didn't do pod.
Yeah,
and also because we lost like 2 minutes in Ice Palace because I bombed those twice at the wrong time.
I think it was more like 4.
That sounds more right.
Not
it was
waiting
what
for the
happened.
freezer to activate.
Yeah, that was what happened.
It's easy. You're trying to go fast and you go too fast and you get punished.
So good luck to both of you, Cinaeth and MM2, as you go into brackets. And how are we on Swiss?
Okay, so Cinaeth can play. Who was in the race we just watched? Dr. Bobtastic Renderer? It was Renderer, right? Who won?
Renderer won.
Cinaeth can play Renderer, Dawn, or Volther. How do you feel about that?
Oh no.
Oh my word. I'm gonna lose. Every one of them I'm gonna lose.
And I think we're still waiting on some of the 1-3s. MM2 can play Nobly or Dr. Bobtastic.
Both of those are probably going to be losses, but that's okay.
I think you're
I'm
right
wrong.
up
Sorry, I'm
there
wrong.
with me.
You're not playing them. You're playing I'm confusing it with Swiss seating. You're playing Adalor, Zakat, or Krubble. Good luck.
Yeah, it's going to be a loss. That is most definitely a loss.
It's fine. It's fine. You got to play.
Well.
You get to play at least 6 seeds,
Yeah.
which is really nice. 6 seeds is a lot for racing. Now
Yeah.
You can play Overworld Glitches now, and then you can join RMG Club and do those races with us. Teach me how to do the speed run.
Yeah, that's not going to be a thing
I'm
that
looking
happens.
forward to going back to casual learning, Link to the Past glitches.
Always fun.
Mm-hmm. So, Cinaeth, do you think you'll be able to restream the next race that comes up in an hour?
Maybe.
Or less than an hour? I think it's an hour, half an hour. Like,
We'll
right?
have to see. I have to see what my family's doing, so I may not. I don't know. I gotta see what my family's doing.
Yeah, so at 5:30 Eastern, we have a race between Krithel and Dante. That is a pretty cool matchup. One of them is very experienced in no major glitches randomizer, and one of them is experienced in restricted major glitches speedrun. So we'll see. It's going to be glitch versus non-glitch execution. Plus, all the fun things that Rando can bring.
So let's stay tuned for that. We'll see if there's a restream. Any final thoughts from both teams before we wrap up?
Bad routing choices.
What, going to pod is
Pod bow.
good routing? Going to pod with nothing? Nothing
pod,
that puts pod in logic?
Good.
Yeah, that's good routing.
Just go to pod with nothing. Very good
Poor
routing.
Ed.
Thank you, Seed. Thank you so much.
Honestly, the reason we wanted to go to pod, well, at least the reason I was thinking in mind, was because I was afraid of Eastern. I was like, okay, we're going to do pod. We're going to find nothing. We're just going to mirror to Eastern and do that because we have very little left to do in logic.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we were just going to find a glove in Eastern, which we did. Eastern put everything in logic.
Yeah, it did.
For the fire starts in Eastern, and it didn't happen. I was only a little upset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of figured that holding out for the fire source in Eastern was what was going to put me into the lead. That's why I was like, let's do pod, just because even if it is completely out of logic and we don't have a fire source, we can potion glitch through it. We can, and then we can dark room the maze. So I was still planning on full clearing up to the statue, if I couldn't find a bow, and then
Yeah, and if nothing there, Eastern. And keep in mind, we were still looking for Ice Rod, and Ice Rod can be anywhere, so I didn't feel bad about full clearing dungeons out of logic when we're still looking for Ice Rod.
Mm-hmm.
Ice Rod's not going to be, like, locking the Fire Rod, because it can't. So
Right.
that could just be anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, actually, hang on a second. Oh no. Okay, so what happened is when we were going to go to GT, MM decided to go to East Death Mountain instead. That killed it.
Oh, so you orphan capture.
Nope, you don't get mirror.
You don't get
Without the
mirror.
You don't get mirror until after you do catfish.
Mhm.
Oh,
But if you have mirror, now you want to go to pod because now you can do it with Eastern.
yes.
Yep, there
Yes.
we go.
You didn't have mirrors.
Yeah.
Oh,
If I had mirror, I definitely would have said to go to pod. That's the breaking point.
I see. So
dang
having
it.
a mirror. Imagine
That's
a
true.
race coming down to the mirror.
Didn't that
Just
happen
mirror and
last
hit your
time?
ice rod. Forehead.
Yeah, that mirror
I-
definitely felt nice doing Eastern and pod back to back. I'll admit.
Even without the bow, I didn't feel bad about that because we were done with Sphere 1 except for that.
We still could have aborted too. Like you were just lining up for the club. I could have said to abort and run down to GG. But I was like, okay, whatever. Just...
So many could haves in this tournament. It's so easy to when you have two brains trying to do this thing at once. Should have.
And like I knew that going to GT was the right thing because you can route. Like, what if you get pod in GT? Then okay, now
you get a bow, right?
Later. Yeah, you get a pod later. So
whatever. Yeah, we wanted a bow. We were like, let's just find a bow and go to pod in Eastern. And no bow.
No bow.
Yeah, no bow. Just do pod.
Forehead.
No bow, no fire. Just do pod. Very good idea.
Every once in a while, we get one of these, and this would wreck me as well.
This is the seed where I actually beat Chexhuman sometimes.
Yeah.
This is how it happens. You too can beat Chexhuman in a race. Just try it. Join us next Wednesday for the official weekly race where you can beat Chexhuman with good routing and good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you for attending my TED Talk. Good night.
All right. Well, thanks so much for putting on this race. It was great to watch and commentate. And we'll go ahead and wrap up. So thanks so much to our trackers, Minus27, and our Restreamer, Kippy. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next race.